Finally, after 6 long weeks, we have the UFC back in 2026. We don't have to, as UFC fans, twiddle our thumbs, don't know our heads from our asses anymore. We actually have a purpose in life. And we are kicking it off with a bang for the first event of 2026 with UFC 324, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title. We are going to be predicting and breaking down every single fight on UFC 324, and I'm going to be giving out all of my fight card awards. Kicking it off with the first fight of Adam Fugitt versus Ty Miller. Now, before we get into the first fight of 2026, I just really hope you guys had a great break. Hope you guys had a great Christmas with your family, had a great New Year's as well. And I obviously hope you guys survived the drought of the UFC. But honestly, thank you guys for all the support across the last couple of years. And if you are new here, I really hope you enjoy this video and also the videos to come if you do want to stick around. We do have hot takes, ranking videos, a bunch of other videos, including predictions, of course. But I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me, and I really hope you guys have a great 2026. Now, one of these guys is going to start off with a great 2026, and who's it going to be? I think, firstly, it is going to be interesting for Adam Fugitt because he's been pretty hit or miss in the UFC, but he does have more experience over Ty Miller. He's a guy that has fought pretty decent competition overall. He's fought Michael Morales. He somehow survived him to the bloody 3rd round. And then he's fought guys like Mike Malott. In his last fight, he fought Islam Dulatov as well. All these guys are very class fighters, but he did lose to all of them. But it means he's had the experience overall. And he is a decent fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's got the experience over Ty Miller and the pedigree there, and he is a well-rounded fighter. But Ty Miller, on the other side, this guy, firstly, is a big welterweight. Adam Fugitt's pretty big himself, but Ty Miller is definitely big. Like, he's heading on that Michael Morales kind of frame. He's got a 77.5-inch reach, and he really plays into that reach advantage. He's got great straight strikes. He's got very, very clean kickboxing and very good, just clean, consistent 3 to 4 combinations as a striker. Like, he's a Golden Gloves champion, so similar to like a prime Stipe Miocic and similar to like Sean Woodson, who's another Golden Gloves champion as well. And those guys, you can see they consistently have great striking. And Ty Miller, especially looking at his regional scene fights and looking at his fight against Drago on Dana White's Contender Series, man, he has got some really nice combinations. Really, really nice on the feet. There's not a lot of holes there. I don't think Adam Fugitt simply is going to be able to compete with Ty Miller on the feet. Now, on the ground, Ty Miller's takedown defense across the regional scene is a little bit suspect. I think that he is susceptible to getting taken down, getting some double legs taken through, just pushed through him and getting taken to the ground. And that's where Adam Fugitt, being the more actual well-rounded guy, I think that he could exercise that. But Ty Miller, honestly, I just think that his striking is too much of a contrast to his favor. And with Adam Fugitt's chin being tested again and again and again, and being 37 years old, I think this is a tough outing for him, and I think it's a great challenge for Ty Miller. Don't get me wrong, because Fugitt has the experience. He's a guy that has a well-rounded game. He's got decent takedowns. He's got a submission game, and he's got some decent low-output striking. But Ty Miller, the dude is just going to be too much. And I think from an age decline of Fugitt with the damage that he's taken compared to Ty Miller, who is hungry, has looked great on the regional scene, is just a clean, concise kickboxer, I think he's getting the KO TKO finish here. And not only that, I'm giving him my Fighter to Watch award. I just think his striking is just that great at his age. He's someone that kind of reminds me a little bit of Joshua Van, but just like a longer, lankier guy in his own division, and really uses that kickboxing to his advantage and a very high output at that. That's where I think Ty Miller is going to be able to overwhelm Adam Fugitt, and he's going to be able to take him out in the 2nd round clean. Moving up the card, we got Cameron Smotherman versus Ricky Turcios. Now, Cameron Smotherman has definitely dealt with a tough outing through his UFC career so far. First 3 fights, he had Jake Hadley on short notice. Jake Hadley had a bit of steam on him back at that point, beat him in a short notice debut fight, and honestly from there gained a lot of confidence. But then he goes up against Serhi City and Ricky Simon. With these guys, they're just more skillful, more tenured than him overall, especially Ricky Simon. But with that, Cameron Smotherman did not get taken out by any of them, and he's a good, consistent striker. He's patient when he gets taken down. He's got nice boxing, clean technique when it comes to those long combinations. And Ricky Turcios is more of like a high output brawler with pretty decent ground transitions. He's kind of like a Tassie Devil. But that's where I think Cameron Smotherman, with how patient he is on the ground, and if Ricky Turcios can't get to the point where he can submit Cameron Smotherman, I just don't see a whole lot of outs for Ricky Turcios to be taking this fight. He's going to get outstruck on the feet by Smotherman with that boxing, just mixing up those combinations incredibly well and also utilizing decent head movement on the offensive as well. I just don't think Ricky Turcios has the technical capabilities on the feet to actually get Cameron Smotherman out of there, and on the ground, he might be able to smother Cameron Smotherman to an extent, but I just don't think that control base is going to be able to beat Cameron Smotherman's volume with the striking. And Ricky Turcios, granted the guy won his Ultimate Fighter series, but he hasn't like really beaten anyone great. The only guy that he's beaten that's been semi-decent is like Brady Heastand. But aside from that, he hasn't looked that impressive. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to impose his will here. And Turcios doesn't have the power in his hands to take Cameron Smotherman out or even equalize him on the feet. And as long as Cameron doesn't get smothered on the ground, no pun fucking intended, please keep watching the video, I just don't think Turcios is going to be at that level to win this fight. I think Cameron Smotherman, with the boxing combinations, he's winning this 30-27. Now, moving up the card, we've got Josh Hokit versus Denzel Freeman. Now, Josh Hokit, he's got some name value on him. Like, he's a guy that is undefeated. He's got momentum. You know, he used to play in the NFL. Like, he's a guy that's just been somewhat popular. He's 7-0. He's only got finishes. He's never been to a decision. And it's also hard to argue against the fact with that he shouldn't be a favorite. I can understand it, but Denzel Freeman here is someone that is being slept on, I do believe. He's someone that has a good, well-rounded game. Granted, they've had the same amount of fights, but Denzel Freeman has fought better opposition. He's fought in the PFL. He's a guy that mixes up his game better than Josh Hokit does. Denzel Freeman is a guy that can really utilize good wrestling himself, but then has good striking at both boxing and kickboxing range. Definitely look back at this guy on regional scene. He's got some sneaky ass fucking head kicks on him. Like, he is definitely dangerous. But Josh Hokit, if he's able to close the distance here, especially with the reach disadvantage for him, then he could take Denzel Freeman out, because we know that Hokit has got the power here. He's got the power advantage, I do believe, as well. And I think that he could find some decent work in the clinch-based exchanges if it gets there. But I think with the wrestling pedigree and the deeper arsenal of striking, and if Freeman can ultimately take it deeper into the fight, as long as he can just survive the first round, I think that Denzel Freeman wins this fight. And I think that he can honestly get a potential late TKO finish, but I'm going to head more towards a decision. He's more of a slower paced fighter, but he's good at picking his shots. He's good at getting his takedowns. And I think at $3, 3-1 dog, I'm going to have to give him my upset of the night award here. I think that it's a decently safe bet to take overall, considering his pedigree of opposition compared to Hokit's, really. And Hokit, I think if he can get inside and just throw bombs, I think he can definitely win. But aside from that, I think Denzel Freeman has got it. Now, moving up the card, we got Alexander Hernandez versus Michael Johnson. Now, both of these guys obviously seasoned in the UFC. We can definitely tell that with Michael Johnson. He's literally a caveman in the UFC at this fucking point. He's got more fights than, you know, twice the amount of years that I've been fucking alive. So he is very seasoned, and both of them, credit to both. I mean, they're both coming off very impressive underdog performances. I mean, Johnson completely outworked Daniel Zellhuber, and Hernandez clipped both Chase Hooper and Diego Ferreira, taking them both out. Very, very impressive from both of them. Both of them have win streaks at the moment. I mean, Johnson is almost 40 years old and is on a 3-fight win streak. It's very, very impressive. And I will say, he does pack the harder punch out of these guys. But Alexander Hernandez, this guy's really, really sharpening those striking tools, especially his counter striking with that check right hook. And that's where I think, I mean, it's going to be a super close fight. And I think usually I'm not really a super big fan of either of these guys. More so Michael Johnson I am because of what he's done prior, like against like Dustin Poirier and his other performances that he's had. Like, he's just been an entertaining fighter. But Alexander Hernandez has never been a guy I've been really hyped on. I haven't thought he's ever been that great. But leading into a 4-fight win streak, very impressively, I need to shut my mouth. I think he is doing very well, and doing very well to the point where I think that he's going to get this win. I think that he has the strike timing advantage from what we've seen in recent times, especially on top of Michael Johnson being 6 to 7 years older than Alexander Hernandez. I mean, he's just showing a better game in his prime, and that's where Michael Johnson, with him slowing down, I think that Alexander Hernandez is going to be able to take him out here. I think the counter timing and strike speed overall is better. I think both of them kind of equalize each other with the wrestling pedigree, but I just think Alexander Hernandez, the fresher guy, very hungry, in his prime, the best we're ever going to see him. I think that he is going to be able to get it done in round 2. I think Michael Johnson is going to press forward. I think he's going to try and bully Alexander Hernandez, put him on the back foot. And I think, honestly, Johnson could win the first round doing that. But I think Johnson pushes Alexander Hernandez on the back foot to the point where Hernandez gets his reads, gets a check right hook, and I think he just absolutely slumps Michael Johnson and then just ground and pounds him out. Now, moving up the card, we got Alex Perez versus Charles Johnson. Definitely a great matchup that I think makes a lot of sense, and it's definitely a deserved shot for Johnson to get closer to that top 10 position, because he is one of the most entertaining flyweights in the UFC, and he's the only one to beat the current champion, Josh Vance. So, got to put a lot of credit on his name. He is someone that is always game, always takes fights, always is super active. But Alex Perez is someone you can't sleep on, even though he hasn't had the best performances, especially in recent times. But both of these guys are good strikers on their days. I mean, Charles is faster and has better lateral movement overall, but you can't sleep on Perez's boxing. Like, look what he did to Matheus Nicolau. He absolutely slumped him. He's got that power in his hands, and if he stays within tight boxing range, I think Perez has the advantage here. But Perez, with that desperation, he needs to get it there, because he's lost 5 of his last 6 fights. And Charles Johnson, on the other side, has been looking incredible and only lost to a juice to the gills Ramazan Tamirov, and absolutely murdered Loney Kavanagh in his last fight. He's an absolute prospect killer. And Perez, on the other side, strong offensively, but the big problem is he's not strong defensively. He's very open in grappling exchanges. Charles, I think, is better transitionally and is just more well-rounded, to be honest. And also to the fact that Alex Perez needs to knock him out. Charles Johnson is like impossible to knock out. This guy, firstly, I mean, credit to his chin, but secondly, more importantly, it's his lateral movement. Very, very good with his distance management. And if a juiced up Ramazan Tamirov isn't getting him out of there, I just don't think Alex Perez is, and that's where he's only got really one out to get this done, and I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Charles is just so much more elusive. He's faster, he's got the better lateral movement, and I think he's going to be able to dance around the octagon to get a 29-28 decision. I think Perez can bring it back with that desperation with the boxing in round 2. He's got decent strike accuracy, but I think the speed and the readjustments through round 1 and round 3 get Charles Johnson the win here. Moving up the card to Nikita Krylov versus Modestas Bukauskas. Now, I've got to start with Modestas Bukauskas here. This guy is seriously a sleeper in the light heavyweight division. He is looking incredible. 4-fight win streak. He's training with heavier guys appropriately, like the whole of Tom Aspinall's team, and he's just looking like he's in a great headspace. I mean, he's getting finish after finish after finish, and his kickboxing is looking damn clean. And I'm sorry, but stylistically, that's exactly what you need to beat a guy like Nikita Krylov. Now, Nikita Krylov, he is dangerous on the feet. He's got power in his hands. He's just a prevalent finisher in general. With that karate black belt, especially on that linear axis, he's someone that can really surprise you. But the trade-off is, which we saw against Dominic Reyes, is if he can't land and there's a counter shot there, which Modestas Bukauskas does have in his arsenal, Krylov goes down like a sack of fucking shit. And we've seen that against, obviously, Dom Reyes himself and Bogdan Guskov, which have been his last 2 fights. His chin has been absolutely annihilated. And with that offensive karate style, he definitely does have a chance, but defensively, the guy's just too poor. And going against a technical kickboxer with good counter striking and has power, it's just not great stylistically at all for Nikita Krylov. Nikita realistically just has to get this to the ground. He's got 16 submissions to his name, and he's got a good chance if he can get it there. But Modestas Bukauskas does have an 80% takedown defense, so it's definitely not going to be easy. Ion Kutalawa couldn't even get the guy down. Tried like 4 or 5 odd takedowns, couldn't land a single one, and he is a better wrestler than Nikita Krylov, so I don't really see an out for Krylov to get this done unless he lands just a miracle shot, or Modestas Bukauskas makes a mistake, which I don't really see happening with his momentum and skill at the moment, and gets him down and submits him. I don't see it, and I think Bukauskas is going to take Nikita Krylov out, most likely I reckon in the start of the second round. I think Krylov gets through the first round this time, but I just think Bukauskas is just going to really land that volume. He's just going to accumulate damage, and Krylov, I'm sorry, but that chin is just not taking it anymore. He's taken too much damage, and Bukauskas is just going to drill him further into a hole. Now, moving up to Ateba Gautier versus Andre Pelaev. Now, I don't think this needs much of an explanation, to be honest. I mean, I can grasp at straws for you. Pelaev, he's a decent kickboxer, more so obviously from the regional scene. He's just one of those like fighters that has just been basically put up as a lamb for the slaughter, kind of like your Robert Valentins and, you know, some other fighters like Rafael Sequeira. Like, these guys are just there to just boost other fighters. Another exhibit. Ateba Gautier is here to absolutely drill his fist through his fucking face. And Pelaev, I honestly can't really say much about him. I will say that this fight should be the most disparity when it comes to the odds, not Umar versus Figgy, which we'll get into. But Pelaev, what I can say about him, if you guys want to know something about him, I mean, he's a kickboxer, southpaw. He's tall. He's definitely tall. He's got a presence in the octagon. Decent straight shots, good knees to the body when he is able to impose his will, but he's not great when an opposition can just pressure him backwards. He can get bullied. We've seen it against Christian Leroy Duncan. Now, he has some decent-ish takedown defense, but it's just not going to be enough to stop the barrage of Ateba Gautier. He's going to get absolutely bullied. It's not even going to get taken down to the ground. I mean, there's just not much here for him. Come on. I mean, he got swamped by Nick Klein in the first round of their fight, and Nick Klein is like half the size of Ateba Gautier. Don't get me wrong, Pelaev got the win. He showed those nice kickboxing-based techniques when he was on the front foot, and Nick Klein gassed out horribly. But Gautier is a completely different beast. He's just a Greek god. Like, the guy has so much power in his hands. He is just going to absolutely bum rush Pelaev. He's going to get a first round KO, absolutely destroying him. Not going to be surprising whatsoever. The odds honestly could be swelled even more in terms of just a complete contrast. Like, Ateba Gautier could be like a minus 1500, and I would not give a shit, because he is just going to absolutely dominate Pelaev. Pelaev's got nothing for him. You need a seriously good dominant wrestler that has that strength that can get under Ateba Gautier's hips. You need that to even have a slight chance against Gautier. Otherwise, you're finished. Pelaev doesn't have that. He is absolutely finished. Ateba Gautier, without a doubt, is getting my Performance of the Night award here. It's plain and simple, black and white. Pelaev, you're going 6 feet under. Now, moving up the card to Umar Nurmagomedov versus Deiveson Figueiredo. An absolute banger here. Absolutely love this matchup, but the odds are absolutely fucking ridiculous here. I'm sorry. I know he's a Nurmagomedov, but his recent performances have not been earth-shattering or anything close. Don't get me wrong. He's technically incredible in MMA, but he hasn't had that kind of Nurmagomedov invincibility in his last few fights. You know, he's looked pretty damn human. He's looked mortal. I mean, against Beksat Almacan, he almost got chinned. Against Merab Dvalishvili, obviously, he got completely outworked when it came to the cardio and got taken down and kind of ragdolled in the championship rounds. And then the GOAT himself, Mario Bautista, almost took him out as well. So Umar, the guy has to be proving something. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about him fighting Petr Yan because they don't like each other. And I think that's really going to amp him up for this fight because he knows if I win this, there's enough news circulating. I have a big enough name to get that championship fight, potentially over Merab. I don't think that should happen. I think Merab definitely deserves the title rematch, but you just never know. You absolutely never know. And Umar needs to make a great case, and the way he could do that is by obviously finishing Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, with these odds, he should be finishing him in the first fucking 30 seconds. Do we think Umar is going to finish Deiveson in 30 seconds? No, that's completely disrespectful to Deiveson Figueiredo. But that being said, Umar Nurmagomedov, I think we're going to see a hunger from him that we really haven't seen before because he's simultaneously not only competing with Merab for that rematch that he rightfully deserves, but he's also competing against Sean O'Malley, who is more favored up the card that we will obviously get into. So there's a lot on the line here. The bantamweight division is hotcakes right now. But Deiveson, the guy is being heavily disrespected here. Like, I know he's 38 years old now, but he's a former champion. He's got a lot of high-level experience. He's remained active, and aside from that Corey Sandhagen fight, he's looked really good in every fight. He was the first to drop Marlon Vera. He dropped Petr Yan. Even though he lost, he still dropped Petr Yan, which is incredibly hard to do. And he's just beaten Montel Jackson, who is one of the most dangerous guys from the top 10 and above. And that's where he really dictated that pace in that fight. And if he's able to do that against Umar in boxing range, he can really, really have a chance at winning this fight because it's not going to allow Umar to just vertically drop and take Deiveson down, especially with Deiveson having a lower center of gravity. It's going to be a lot harder if Deiveson is really in Umar's face and just pressing against him and not allowing him to just drop vertically down and just take his legs out. It's just going to be so hard for Umar to do against Deiveson, who does have takedown defense himself, but against a guy that's also strong and has good sprawling capabilities as well. So that is where Deiveson has to keep this fight, but every other aspect of this fight goes Umar Nurmagomedov's way. I mean, I'm not against Umar, but I think Figgy is just being disrespected, but ultimately I'm not being biased here at all. Figueiredo will not be able to out-transition Umar Nurmagomedov on the ground if, or most likely when it gets there. And Umar, even though he's looked mortal recently, like, he's got the stylistic advantages in this matchup. I mean, aside from boxing range, he has every advantage. He'll be able to capitalize on Figgy when he gets over aggressive, and he'll be able to utilize those takedowns. He's got good timing on them, and he'll be able to utilize the Taekwondo, most importantly, at range when Deiveson Figueiredo is complacent. And we've seen just absolute fight IQ dumps from Deiveson Figueiredo in the past, where I think, like, Deiveson kind of just stands there, gets a bit funny, gets a bit giddy. You know, he's like, oh, I know I can beat you. He kind of smiles at him. Umar, with a Taekwondo base, with that strike speed, can be piecing Deiveson Figueiredo up. And I think that that's where Umar is going to be able to capitalize. And I think especially if Umar gets Deiveson down in the first round, that's just going to break Deiveson's structure really badly. And I think that's where Deiveson's just going to really shell up, and he's not going to allow Umar to get those takedowns. But then if he does not allow that to happen, Umar's most likely just going to tee off with a Taekwondo at range, where Deiveson is not going to be able to hit him because Umar's got both a leg and an arm reach advantage in this matchup. But that's where I just think Deiveson, unless he's going to land the KO shot or just really bully Umar, because Umar can be tagged. I mean, we've seen him almost get chinned a couple times, and there's always a chance from a former champion. But Umar, ultimately, I just think that he's just going to be able to dominate him, to be honest. I think it's going to be a 30-27 decision here. I think he's just going to be able to either utilize the ground game where he needs to when Deiveson gets aggressive, or when Deiveson gets complacent, which is usually one of the two. I think Umar just tees off at range with that Taekwondo style. If Umar didn't have the Taekwondo, this would be a lot closer, but I think just having that discipline under Umar is just a key to beating a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, moving up the card, Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. Now, this is the only female fight we're getting on the card, and I'm not mad about it. I mean, if we're going to have one, this is a great one to have. Both stylistically very entertaining on the feet. Both of them have a ground game as well. It can just be entertaining anywhere it does go, to be honest, and both of these girls have shown nothing but entertaining performances, aside from Rose versus what's her name? Carla Esparza. I see, I've even forgot her name. That performance was so fucking terrible. Yeah, except for that, both of them very entertaining. Now, when it comes to the matchup itself, Rose Namajunas needs to get Natalia Silva down. Natalia's Taekwondo striking eclipses Rose's clearly, which I do mention more so in depth in my top fighters in each discipline video, which I just released. I'll leave it in the description below. But Rose is not fully counted out because we don't have much tape at all on Natalia Silva's grappling at this level of MMA. And Rose being able to control Miranda Maverick for over a full round in her last fight. So we know she can do it. She's still got it, even though she's, you know, kind of 1 foot out the door, to be honest. And of course, especially even more so against Wei Li in her last title fight win, controlling her for like 7 to 8 minutes. It's just definitely not something that we can skip over because she's shown that against decent to elite competition. And when it comes to her timing on her takedowns, she does have great timing, especially when the opposition gets over aggressive. And she's got great feints. She's got great setups for her takedowns and her strikes. That all really came into play when we saw her against Miranda Maverick, when we saw her against Wei Li in the second fight, and with the striking, obviously the first fight, just utilizing fantastic feints to land that head kick and take her out. But she really just doesn't have much of an opportunity on the feet against Natalia. Natalia's just so good with her movement. She's so clean with her Taekwondo base. Easily the best Taekwondo artist in the women's MMA, easily. And that is dominated in that discipline by women. So very impressive. And Natalia, even though she hasn't been tested on the ground, I think she still definitely has a lot to offer. She's got 7 submissions to her name, and granted, she hasn't been tested by like any amazing wrestlers or anything, but she does have a 92% takedown defense as well. It's going to be easier said than done unless she overextends against Rose and Rose can time that takedown. But the problem with that is, unless Rose can catch a single leg, I just don't think she's going to be able to take Natalia down, because Natalia, using a Taekwondo base, they're usually not really just pressuring forward, putting all their weight in front of them. It's usually a lot of like sticking, poking, jabbing, moving. Like you're just kind of like touching the opponent and moving away. It's kind of more like that, except for when Natalia uses like her spinny shit. That's where she doesn't really lose her base when she throws that stuff though. I just don't really see a lot of avenues for Rose to get Natalia Silva down. And that's where I think if it's staying on the feet, which it predominantly will, she's going to win this fight. But I don't think that she's going to be able to take Rose Namajunas out. Like, I just think Rose is very, very good defensively. She's good with her distance management on a linear line. That's where I think it's really hard to actually tag her cleanly. But Natalia is just going to be able to bully. She is a bully when she fights. She's always pressing forward, not to overextend, but she always throws things. She's always good at catching her opponent against the cage. And statistically as well, she's got a higher output. She's got the better accuracy. She's got more striking tools and is also bigger. And biggest thing, stylistically, when it comes to their stances, the lead strike fight. Obviously, Natalia Silva is a southpaw, Rose Namajunas is orthodox. So the lead strike fight is crucial. When I say lead strike fight, not lead hand fight, because both of them being Taekwondo-based style fighters, they literally use their lead strikes so much. And that's where Natalia Silva, being the bigger, being the faster, being the more accurate, and the more powerful, I think that she is just going to be faster and quicker to get to the punch or the kick in those exchanges. And that's where Rose, if she's not winning those and she doesn't get takedowns, she is a sitting duck. She's not going to win this fight, and that's just credit to how much of a problem Natalia's Taekwondo base is. And I think a big problem as well is Rose Namajunas not being able to make straw weight anymore is a killer for her, because she is like the crystal clear definition of like a true 120 pounder. She's not 115. It's hard for her to obviously cut that, and she's having health issues. But flyweight, a lot of the girls, even with that 5 pound difference, they just cut so much more. They're just naturally so much bigger in the octagon. I mean, you look at Rose versus Manon Fiorot, they look nowhere near the same size. And that's with Natalia Silva as well. Granted, she's shorter, but she's so much stockier. She's so much stockier, she's so much stronger. And that's where Natalia's just going to be able to get this one done. I think it's going to be a 29-28 decision. I think Rose can keep it up in round 1. I think with just the feints and just tagging Silva and Silva having to find her reads against Rose, because Rose, obviously, champion level fighter. She's fought the best of the best everywhere. But Natalia Silva, I think she'll make Rose lose traction very quick, and she'll get outstruck 29-28 to win this fight here and go on to fight for the flyweight belt. Now, moving up the card, we have got an absolute fucking rip snorter, as we know. I am so keen for Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva, especially in terms of just the action both of them bring. But I will really hate to see one of these guys lose. I love them both, but I gotta say, this is a damn tricky one to predict for multiple reasons. Because firstly, with Arnold Allen, the guy is an absolute weapon. He's super well-rounded. He's got great kickboxing. He mixes his tools well and has got very good offensive and defensive wrestling, and is ultimately the definition of an underrated fighter. He flies under the radar of everyone. But that can be down to his inactivity due to, unfortunately, his injuries. And he's been out since UFC 304, which was a year and a half ago due to a bad shoulder injury, which in MMA, that's probably one of, if not the worst injury you can bloody get. But people forget just how good this guy is. He's 20-3. So aside from a regional scene loss, he's only lost to Max Holloway, which he made competitive, and Movsar Evloev, who he arguably could have beaten in that fight. He outstruck him and stuffed over 10 of Evloev's takedowns. Aljamain Sterling couldn't even do that. So Arnold Allen is just so underrated when it comes to statistics, his performances, everything. And he's a down-to-earth guy. It's hard to hate the dude. He really does a great job of just balancing like aggressive blitzes, which we saw against Dan Hooker, and technical kickboxing at range just so well. We've seen it against Giga Chikadze with the kickboxing at range. Out kickbox to prime kickboxing. And we know the guy's been taking it seriously. He's training with Faraz Sahabi at All-Star as well. So he's going to be really improving his game all around. But it's really going to be a battle of mentality with that inactivity due to the injury coming up against an absolute killer in Jean Silva. But where it's interesting and where I initially stated that it's a hard one to predict is also Silva's mentality on the other side, because after his loss to Lopez and ultimate loss of momentum, along with underestimating Arnold Allen potentially, because we know Jean Silva's persona, he's always funny, he's always giddy, he likes to test him in the octagon, but you look at what Allen did to a guy like Dan Hooker, you can't give Allen that chance to tag you and just, you know, mocking. Like, he will take advantage of it. Jean Silva could definitely lose this fight. Like, I think he's a certified champion eventually, but he could lose this. But most interesting, I will say, stylistically, is that we know Jean Silva has KO power and unorthodox technique with that really kind of weird wide bladed stance, and he's got a good takedown defense rate as well. But putting that wide based unorthodox striking that covers a lot of distance against Allen's long rangey kickboxing and aggression, it's just a recipe for one of them to get clipped badly in this fight. And even though Jean Silva is coming off a semi-bad loss, I can't ignore the inactivity of Arnold Allen here. I think he gets taken out. I think he gets taken out in round 2. I think the rhythm of Jean Silva, putting Allen on his heels, is where Jean Silva has that key to victory, because he has the higher strike volume, he has the accuracy, he has the damage in his hands. He's going to land the more impactful shots. Allen doesn't have the power in comparison. He does have the volume, but Jean Silva is elusive. He's a guy that throws shots that, honestly, Arnold Allen, I'm confident, has never seen before, and especially not in an actual professional MMA fight. So I think it's going to be a real problem, especially when it comes to the feet. I give Jean Silva the advantage, and I think Arnold Allen, he's just not going to be able to get Jean Silva down. Maybe once early, but aside from that, I just think Jean Silva has got this one in the bag. Now moving on to swang and damn bang, fellas, we got one of the most exciting heavyweights of 2025 going up against Mr. My Balls is Hot with a side of fucking peptides, Mr. Derrick Lewis. Now this definitely does not need much analysis here as many of the other fights we have. It's heavyweight, come on, it's a shit division. But Derrick Lewis, I mean, it's kind of simple when it comes to him. He makes these a lot easier. He needs to do what he does best. He needs to get Waldo into a boxing exchange or cut him off against the cage and just land that absolute killer shot. Now, it's definitely possible because, you know, he's got that power equalizer to probably just, you know, level a fucking mountain. But Waldo, stylistically, has had some close calls against guys like Sergey Pavlovich and Ante Delia as well. So Derrick, you know, always has that equalizer chance. But Waldo Cortes-Acosta, we got to be honest, he's got options here. He can either stick and move on the outside as he's a lot faster, lands over twice the volume, and is better defensively with head movement anyway, or he can take the Robles to Spain approach and drown Derrick out on the ground, nullifying his literal only weapon, which is his swang and bang style, which I think Waldo Cortes-Acosta can definitely get Derrick Lewis down. I think Waldo does play this safe, and I think he should. He's got too much to lose. He could honestly be getting a title shot after this. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, all in 2025. He's taken out contenders like Ante Delia and the king himself, Shamil Gaziev, easily. So you just need to make sure you don't trade with Derrick Lewis. And I don't think he's a guy that's stupid enough to do that. I think he'll mix in a stick and move approach on the outside, secure those takedowns when he needs to and when Derrick tries to enter range. And then I think from there, he'll just play it safe where he either gets the ground and pound finish late or he gets the decision win, which I think he's going to play it that safe where he doesn't want to let, you know, Derrick Lewis get back up to his feet by any chance once he gets him down. I think he's going to get a lot of control time, and I think it's going to be a 30-27 clear decision here. But if there's going to be a finish, it's either going to be early in the first or late in the third. Now moving up to Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. And even with the loss of Kayla versus Amanda for the co-main event, I personally just don't give a shit because this makes for an amazing co-main event.
I'm the co-main. UFC 324! I'm the co-main! So sick, dude! So sick!
And it's great enough for me to give it my Fight of the Night award here, and I can clearly explain why. Both guys are extremely talented, high output strikers with great strike speed, and both of them are just very impressive overall. But Song Yadong is firstly extremely seasoned for his age. He's fought almost bloody everyone in the division, and some of those went his way and some of them didn't, but he's shown that he's extremely dangerous in the pocket with those tight hooks. We saw that against Ricky Simon, we've seen it against other fighters too, and that technical boxing up close with his aggressive takedown style is bloody legit. And I will say, Song does have the power advantage here over Sean O'Malley, and if they get into a close quarter flurry, I'm confident that Song Yadong could sleep Sean O'Malley. But even though Song matches Sean's speed, the technical striking with the footwork is definitely on Sean O'Malley's side. And aside from that power advantage that Song has, Sean is literally a better striker in every way. He's got a higher output, better kickboxing tools, better strike accuracy, better strike defense, and he absorbs less strikes overall on the back foot. And that's where the Merab fights come in clutch for Sean O'Malley, because he has the advantage in the striking, but with those camps to try and combat Merab's wrestling, I'm confident Song isn't going to successfully take Sean down. And if he isn't, Sean with a 5 to 6 inch reach advantage will be an absolute killer here with his style, especially in combination with Song's poor defense moving backwards. Because if Song is getting tagged up by Corey Sandhagen and Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley is definitely going to hit his mark. But Song, got to give credit to him. He's durable, he's got a lot of heart, and he won't make it easy for Sean O'Malley to take him out. And that's where I think Sean O'Malley wins a 30-27 decision here. Just So much volume both ways. I'm so keen for this. It definitely deserves the fight of the night. If it goes the way I think it will. Song with the durability, the dangerous boxing up close, and Sean O'Malley with all those statistical advantages and just being a very clean, concise striker, having all the entertaining performances he does have. I think Sean is going to beat his dong. Or he's going to beat Yadong. Moving on to the main event, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett as the first headliner in the Paramount era, and I'm damn not complaining. I mean, this is a great fight to have. I mean, interim lightweight belt, the winner's going to fight Ilia Topuria. Both of these guys I would love to see fight Topuria. Like, it would just be sick, and I think both of these guys, honestly, within this fight, it's not easy to predict, to be honest, and I think the odds, firstly, skewing away from Gaethje are a little suspect, but I will get into that. Firstly, when we look at Paddy, we know he's the bigger, fresher lightweight. Like, he's a guy that is just really hungry. He's coming into his prime, whereas Gaethje is obviously leaving/left his prime. And Gaethje, he does have power. We know he's got the KO rate. He's got 20 KOs. He's super dangerous, but the last time he actually knocked someone out cold was like 7 to 8 years ago. It was like Edson Barboza or like James Vick. Aside from that, he actually hasn't had a lot of real success just absolutely blitzing people with those hands. And it's going to be pretty hard to get inside of Paddy because Paddy is just ginormous. Like, he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. Paddy's kickboxing overall in general, I do think, is a little bit better than Gaethje's, but Gaethje does have the better actual soul boxing pedigree. And a big thing that I do like about Paddy's persona and confidence is that he knows that Justin Gaethje, like, he's super entertaining. He has a lot of respect for him, but Justin Gaethje gets hit. Justin Gaethje absorbs a lot of shots, and granted, Gaethje looked fantastic against Rafael Fiziev in his last fight, but he did absorb shots there, and before that fight, he got Max Holloway'd, and that's all that's really happened. And leading into this fight, granted, Paddy Pimblett is not one to talk with that record that he has. In his last 3 fights, what his record's like 0-13 of his opposition. Like, it's not fantastic, but he has been dominant in every single one of those matchups, and he's only getting better. You cannot deny the confidence. You cannot deny his momentum coming into this fight. But I do think that the odds are separated a little bit too much, because granted, Gaethje is 37. He has a lot more miles on the clock, and the submission-based arsenal of Paddy is definitely the biggest contrasting discipline for discipline with these guys. Like, Paddy getting this to the ground for a submission, I haven't even checked the odds specifically, but I guarantee you that the closest thing to being a favorite in terms of the odds is without a doubt Paddy getting a submission. Like, that's just going to be obvious, and then probably Gaethje getting a KO TKO. But what I will say when it comes to the KO TKO threat of Gaethje is Gaethje has the experience. He's got the power. He's got the pure boxing advantage, and is definitely better in a firefight. And if he can control the octagon, the likelihood of him winning is very high. But Paddy, we know he's younger, he's in his prime age range, he's got unwavering confidence in himself, and the elephant in the room is Gaethje's title fight record. He has been submitted in both title fights he's been in, either due to getting caught on the feet or being taken down. Now, that was obviously from Charles and Khabib, and Paddy doesn't have the power that Charles has, or the wrestling that Khabib has, but Paddy, in relation to his size, is a monster for lightweight. He's bigger than the both of those guys, fairly arguable with Khabib, and he'll have no problem in clinch-based exchanges. I mean, I think he'll have no problem imposing his will and not getting bullied, but Gaethje does have the advantage in clinch-based exchanges with his power. I mean, we've seen that he's been able to outwork a Muay Thai disciplined fighter, peak Muay Thai disciplined fighter in Rafael Fiziev in those exchanges. But Paddy, the guy ultimately, to win this, either has to knock Gaethje down or capitalize on a mistake from Gaethje overthrowing to then out-position and either ground and pound or submit Gaethje. And I think that he can do it. I honestly think on paper it should almost be a pick'em because of Gaethje's experience, his power in his hands. He's got great leg kicks that can disrupt Paddy's base as a kickboxer. But over 25 minutes, Paddy can get Justin Gaethje to the ground. I'm trying not to shit on Gaethje. You know, he's bounced back from Holloway fantastically well against Fiziev, as I said prior, but even Fiziev was able to take him down twice. Like, that's a pure Muay Thai guy. Paddy is a guy that can utilize wrestling. Granted, he's not as good a wrestling pedigree as Justin Gaethje actually has, even though Gaethje's fucking allergic to using it. But Paddy does have the ability to get this down. It's not impossible. And if Paddy does, which I think he ultimately will, Paddy gets a rear naked choke in this matchup after out transitioning Gaethje on top in round 3, turns him stomach down, and I think he sinks in that rear naked after landing some really nice ground and pound, similar to the Michael Chandler fight. But I think Paddy honestly can lose round 1. And I think round 2, the exchange is going to be close, but I think round 3, I think that's where Paddy really starts imposing his will more. I think he tags Gaethje more and gets him down. I think in round 1, Gaethje is just going to be throwing a lot of powerful shots. I think he's really going to be wanting to get Paddy out of there or just really just drain him out, because the longer Justin leaves it, Paddy has more of an ability to slow Gaethje down, which then therefore would allow for an easier submission. And that's the biggest contrast. And that's where I think it's going to be hunted. And that's where I think Paddy Pimblett is going to be successful in that. And that's where I'm going to give Paddy Pimblett my finish of the night here to submit a guy like Gaethje in an interim title fight, never losing in the UFC, to then go up and fight Ilia Topuria. That is a fantastic achievement overall, and I think it deserves it in terms of the magnitude of what this submission win can do for Paddy Pimblett, his legacy, and moving the lightweight division along moving forward, changing of the guard and everything. I think Gaethje, if he gets pieced up badly and then gets submitted, I think he could retire. If he gets dominated in any way, I think he'll retire. But if he makes a mistake and gets submitted, I don't think he will. But aside from that, it's really up in the air. I would love to see Gaethje win a title, but I think Paddy Pimblett has a better chance of beating Ilia than Justin Gaethje does, to be honest. I think Justin Gaethje probably gets flatlined in the first round against a guy like Ilia Topuria. So Paddy versus Ilia next, that's what everyone wants, and that could possibly be at the White House. So I'm very, very keen to see that. Now, I really hope you guys enjoyed this predictions and breakdown video, and I really hope you enjoy UFC 324 as the first fight of 2026. And I really hope that you guys have a great 2026 as well. Hope you guys had a great holiday period too. And thank you guys for all the support while I've had this channel going. I've really, really appreciated the comments, the likes, the shares, everything. Thank you for subscribing as well. If you haven't already, if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. And if you haven't already, definitely just check out the video here on the screen, and I will hope to catch you in the next one.